sawmill. We spent a lot of time out there. This place, you leave town, you drive quite a ways, you take a left at a caution light, you drive a ways further into the national forest, you take a right, you drive about 5 minutes down that road, you take a left onto a dirt road, you drive about 10 minutes on that dirt road, and you park at a gate, you get out, you walk about 15 minutes through the woods. It's in the middle of nowhere, and nobody would hear you scream if something went down. There's a metal band called Mirari, and they recorded the video for their song Mirrors in the Black out there, and I got mad respect for those guys for lugging all their equipment all the way out there. I'm sure it wasn't easy. But anyway, our first time out there we were looking for that adrenaline. We got it. Justin and I have like this policy between us where if I see something or he sees something, we don't immediately say, "Did you see that?" If we hear something, we don't say, "Did you hear that?" We do what we're gonna do. We look around, we investigate, we see what's out there, we gather all the information, and then we get back in the vehicle, and on the ride home we discuss what we saw or heard. Our first time out there, we're walking through the woods, we're on the trail, and we'd already driven a long way, and now we're walking through the woods. And we're like, man, I hope this is worth it. So we're walking, and the sawmill stepped out of the dark. We're walking down this trail, and then into view comes this haunting, creepy sight of an old cement building standing right in front of us. Quite a sight if you're into abandoned buildings. There's a lot of graffiti out there, and judging by what we've seen, what we've heard, opinions of others on will they go out there at nighttime, you could guess that most of this graffiti is probably done in the daytime. So anyway, we're walking around admiring the beauty of this abandoned building. There's 3 buildings in one area that we call the 50 headstones. It's just like a foundation that was built up on little pillars. I don't even know if there's 50. That's just the name we gave it. So we're walking around sizing this place up, exploring, because we know we're going to be coming out there a lot from the stories we heard. I saw this thing. If you've ever seen the movie Darkness Falls, you'll know what I mean by this, but it looked like the Tooth Fairy from that movie, but without the white face. No mask. It was just the silhouette of a long, flowing, Grim Reaper looking thing that would move with incredible quickness. It like flew from tree to tree, like it moved real fast and flew. That's not the craziest thing I've ever said, but that's Pretty wild. I saw it several times. It followed us around. I didn't say anything to Justin. And we took off down the trail, headed back to the car. And this thing was still with us. And we got in the car. We're driving home. And this thing, it was like it was chasing us, but it was ahead of us. It knew where we were going to be. It was in places ahead of us. When we got there, it was there. And I finally asked Justin, I said, hey man, did you see anything crazy when we were out there? And he described to me exactly what I was seeing. And he also said, it's following us. I've seen it several times since we left. And I knew at that moment that we were both seeing the same thing. We knew this thing was following us. And I knew I wasn't crazy. We were at Justin's mom's house one night. There was a storm and we lost power in the house and it got real hot. And I can't sleep when it's hot, so I was laying there awake. And I see this thing creeping across the ceiling, the long flowing black silhouette of whatever this thing was slowly crawling across the ceiling. And it finally rested right above the bed, right above me, looking down at me. And I figured at this point was not the time for me to start asking questions, so I left it alone. Moving forward, we were back out at the sawmill, and we had done the trek. We're walking, we see the building, and I heard a very aggressive voice tell us to leave. And as soon as I heard it, I looked over at Justin. Justin looked over at me, and I knew, and he knew that we both heard what we heard, but I still questioned. And I said, you just heard something, didn't you? He said, yeah, something told us to leave. And we decided it was time to leave.